to another enlightening episode of City Talk, Common Sense Politics with Eyes on Orlando, your trusted source for in-depth conversations and discussions on the political landscape of Orlando. I'm your host, Amanya Salas, and today we delve into a significant political conversation that is shaping the future of the City Beautiful. Our guest today is Samuel B. Ings, a well-known name to many Orlando residents, has emerged as a formidable contender in the upcoming mayoral election, challenging the incumbent Mayor Buddy Dyer for a third time. With a storied history of public service, Mr. Ings brings a wealth of experience and passion for a positive change to the forefront of this election. Mr. Ings has deep roots in the community. He served as Orlando Police Captin and then went on to become commissioner for nearly 15 years, representing District 6, where he demonstrated an unwavering commitment to public safety and community engagement. Throughout his career, Mr. Ings has championed crime prevention and public safety measures, understanding the vital role they play in creating safe and vibrant neighborhoods. Moreover, Mr. Ings is no stranger to the intricacies of economic development and the importance of nurturing local businesses to foster jobs and growth and prosperity for the community. His vision for a better Orlando for everyone is one of his key goals. Today, we discuss his motivations, policies, and strategies he's employing as he embarks on this remarkable journey to challenge the status quo and shape the future of our beloved city. Join us as we delve into the heart of this pivotal election and learn more about the man behind this campaign. Let's explore how Sam B. Ings plans to make a difference and address the pressing issues of Orlando. Stay tuned for this engaging conversation. Beforehand, let us have a brief message from the sponsor of this video and of our podcast, and then we will dive into the conversation with Sam B. Ings and his vision for the City Beautiful. City Talk Podcast, Common Sense Politics, Eyes on Orlando. We are so proud to partner with the Orlando Patriot. Orlando Patriot is an online store, patriotic merchandise, everything you need, flags, t-shirts, hats, magnets, and more. They have wonderful patriotic merchandise to support all of your causes where you can show off your patriotic spirit. So Orlando Patriot, they are currently offering 30% off on all merchandise. And the coupon code is City Talk. Hello, Commissioner Ings. Thank you so much for coming on the City Talk podcast. We really appreciate your time. We know you're in the middle of an election, and I know your time is busy trying to get your constituents and trying to talk to voters, but I'm so glad that you came on the program. So, Commissioner Ings, tell us, you're running for mayor for a third time against the machine, Buddy Dyer. So please tell us a little bit about yourself and get us to where we want to go with the conversation about your race. But tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Amanya. And it's really a pleasure and an honor to be invited to your podcast. And I saw your trailer earlier, and it is just fantastic. And so we're very thankful that that information is out there. And the voters need to wake up and do the right thing and vote for me, Samuel B. Ings, for mayor of the city of Orlando. And I was born in Orlando, born and raised, went to school here. I graduated from Boone High School and then went to UCF, which was FTU at the time, Florida Technological University. I left there to go to Valencia, and which was a community college then, a junior college then, and I got my degree in criminal justice. And from there, I went to Rollins College and got my bachelor's in criminal justice, and then got a master's in criminal justice from Rollins College, and then a master's in management from Rollins College. I went to Orlando College and got a master's in business administration. And so I joined the Orlando Police Department and served them for 30 years with the Orlando Police Department, retiring as a police commander. While being at the Orlando Police Department, I actually went to the FBI National Academy for commanders within law enforcement throughout the United States and really the world. And so that was held in Quantico, Virginia. And I graduated from there in 1992. And came back to Orlando, and we just continued to do the great work that we did in law enforcement and taking care of our communities and all of that. And what was really important to me about that was an experience to meet with law enforcement commanders throughout the United States and the world. We had someone from Japan that was there that was attending this particular training session, and it was for 3 solid months.
Wow.
The only time we had a chance to go home was during the Thanksgiving holiday, and then it was back on campus, and we were living there. That was our 8 to 5 jobs, and so it was a great experience and a wonderful experience.
I'm sure.
So even after being on the police department for 30 years, I ended up running for commissioner for District 6 for the city of Orlando. And in 2006, I won that position and was there until 2020 when I left to run for mayor in 2019. And actually, even prior to that, because I did run in 2005, I believe it was in 2004. And then in 2005, in a special election, because Buddy Dyer had been arrested for some voting violations and that kind of thing. And so with him being arrested and out of the office, the city had to have a special election. And that special election was put in place. I was in it, former Mayor Bill Frederick was in it, and 3 other people were there too. But 3 days prior to the election occurring, all of a sudden the state's prosecutor, special prosecutor, dropped the charges on Buddy, and he was able to come back into office. And so the people didn't have a chance to vote at that time because they were denied that opportunity. And that was very sad, and a sad occurrence from that perspective too. So he got back in office, and then I ran again in 2019, ran again in 2019, and obviously did not win that race. And we're back here for 2023. But we will win this race this time because it's been over 20 years and he's been in that same position, occupying space really. And this is one reason why the citizens of Orlando are calling for term limits for the city of Orlando.
Yeah.
Because we don't want a dictator to be in that position, and that's what this has turned into. And so we're looking to create some opportunities to bring about new leadership because this leadership has failed us, failed the city. You talk about the city beautiful. You talk about how great the city is in your State of the City address. And you're getting ready to talk about how great the city's downtown area is. That should be coming up pretty soon. But in your State of the City address, you never talked about the homeless. You never talked about the crime that's plaguing Orlando. You never talked about Orlando being number uh, two in the state of Florida for human trafficking. And that's a very serious thing because the state of Florida is number three throughout the entire United States
Yeah.
as far as human trafficking is concerned.
Hmm.
So I'm just this little humble person that wants to do great jobs and bring an inclusive Orlando for everybody. And and that means the homeless people that are out there, and even with them, you know, property values go down as a result. Businesses lose business because homeless people are hanging around. And we need to do everything that we can to get rid of or eradicate that situation so that our businesses are thriving and our neighborhoods are thriving. And then we also have to reach out to the homeless too, because I have a comprehensive plan that we need to do to make the homeless become self sufficient and back into their homes.
Okay. Well, I'm very interested in that Buddy Dyer situation that happened with him being arrested. So I'm gonna have to do my homework on that to get all that to get that story. But that's very interesting. But you're right about the homeless. Tell us about your plan. What's the plan that you have to try to fix this homeless situation? Again, homelessness is not new to any city. I mean, it's all over. When we look at what's happening in Baltimore, we're looking at in New York, we're looking at all of these inner cities. But tell us, Commissioner Ings, how do you see yourself handling that here for the City Beautiful?
Well, I kind of alluded to it a little earlier when I said I have a comprehensive plan
Yes.
because we know that there are many causes of homelessness, and one is addiction, and the other is domestic violence, and the other is mental illness, and of course, job loss, underemployment, and the lack of affordable housing. And then we have individuals that are dealing with post traumatic stress. And these are generally our veterans that are out there and our veterans that are homeless. And so we have to find ways to, help individuals to overcome their addictions. And we have to help individuals deal with the domestic violence situations and mental health and also lack of affordable housing. We have to help them get into housing. But one of the things that I'm concerned about is making a comprehensive, complete program. It's not about feeding the homeless and sending them back to the streets. It's about bringing them into a facility that we have created that will address these issues. And I like to call it sometimes, I think about, when we talk about a university or something like that,
Mhm.
I like to look at a possibilities university and put in a positive spin from that perspective because we want them to be self sufficient and we want them to be free of any drugs or alcohol. We want them to be more responsive to each other. If the spouses or boyfriend and girlfriend cannot get along, that they completely separate. But the protection of that mother and the children are so important. And also for those individuals that have mental health issues, we want them to get the proper treatment that they need so that they can fit back into society as well. And then we need to have a job program or jobs program where we can help them get back into being employed or employable. And those things are very important too. And then, of course, with the lack of affordable housing, we've
Right.
got to start out in this facility as a transitional housing unit to
Hmm.
pull them off the streets into this possibilities university where they can then develop themselves. And of course, we need the partners such as even our businesses and our other neighbors that are out there, and we need the counselors, the professionals. We need the drug rehabilitation counselors to come in and do what they do best to help individuals become clean again and free of drugs and alcohol. And so we have to provide counseling too for those individuals that are going through domestic violence and what have you. And you know, even when we look at homelessness, we have a lot of teens that are out there too. The teens that are, if they're in foster care, they have aged out of foster care.
Mm-hmm.
If they're having problems at home with their parents, they're leaving, they're running away, they're living literally on the streets. So we have a lot to do. So it is a very comprehensive project and program, and it gets them to be self-sufficient again. They need to find their way back home, and that's the key. And at the same time, we need to protect the businesses. The businesses need the support, they need the help from the city government to help them be able to survive. Because if the homeless are on the street in front of businesses or panhandling in front of businesses, customers don't want to come. They'll
Well,
go somewhere else. And we don't want the businesses to feel that they are in this all by themselves. And I want the business leaders and owners to know that I am there with you and we stand hand in hand to deal with this situation because we want everybody to prosper and we want everybody to feel good about themselves and who they are. And we want to take the homeless and put them into job situations where they can earn a living. And then we would need counselors to help them with their budgets
mm-hmm.
on how to spend and not how to splurge and get those things that you really don't need, but you got to take care of your basic needs first. And then whatever else is a surplus, that's great. Then you can spend on those other issues that will help you out.
Well, thank you for giving us that elaboration and your thoughts and your plan. But I would like to ask, we have about when a homeless situation occurs to somebody, they lose an apartment or they can't pay the rent, they get evicted. And so now they're out there on the street or they're sleeping from couch to couch, whoever will take them for a week or so as they get themselves back on their feet. Now, coming from 100% situation, 80% of those people, they're able to, figure it out, get themselves back together. And, even if it's an additional job, whatever it is, and they pull themselves out of that situation. So the 20% is really what we're talking about here. And that's the 20% that is with the chronic, and that's the folks with the drug problems, the mental issues, and so on. And so that population, from my understanding, it's been very difficult to really wean them back into the society where they're able to really function and be productive again. Because if you don't want help in those aspects, no amount of counseling, no matter what people do, they're going to still be in that situation. So how do you pull them out of that? Like I want to understand, I want to be empathetic to all of that, but I do understand that with the mental illness of all of this, they don't want the help. They want help. Yes, they want the food and clothing and shoes and things like that, but some of them are perfectly content with living in the woods, as we see out there over there by Terry Street. They're content with being in tents. They're content with sleeping on the grounds. They're content with that. How do you help that?
Well, we have to show them a better way. And I think that's what's important about the Possibilities University, because yes, it is the chronic homeless person that's out there that we need to really reach out to. And then, of course, we know that there are others out there that find themselves homeless for whatever reason, and a lot of them are those that I have alluded to earlier. But the chronic is yes, that's a very serious situation where we have to really help them to really get re-engaged into believing in themselves, and to be able to pull themselves up and to see and help them to realize that they are somebody
Mhm.
and that we do care about them. And we're going to do everything that we can to get them to understand that. But at the same time, if they're refusing, then they're going to be in an abyss, if you will,
Mhm.
because we can't have them living on the streets.
So,
If we're talking about protecting our businesses, protecting our neighborhoods, and keeping that clean, because our children, you mentioned Terry Street, they're walking through the areas going to school.
mhm.
They see this. And that's not the type of life we want them to look at and say, maybe I might want to do that one day. We've got to build hope within the chronic to help them understand that they are somebody. And I think that's the long-term effect. And that's why you need a facility to help them go through these particular issues. And like I said, in that facility, in that Possibilities University, you've got rooms that would be available for them where they can have their own little space, their own little restroom, so that they can shower, clean up, and everything and feel like they are somebody. And at the same time, what we're doing is making our streets better and making our community much better. But we do have to reach out to those that are chronic homeless people. And we do have to help the businesses realize that they're in the business to make money. It's all about profits.
Yes.
And we want profits to go up. We don't want profits to go down. And we want the businesses to feel like that they are part of the community as well, and that we are helping them and that we are there for them too.
Well, I'm glad you bring up the businesses because I've had some experiences with the businesses downtown, and a lot of folks are frustrated. The business owners, as you mentioned, they are frustrated because they feel like they're being left behind in all of this, especially for the downtown weekenders, the bars, and things like that. Mayor Buddy Dyer, he says that he has about 70 police out there patrolling on the weekends, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and so on. But these people have had to get their own security to try to protect their customers. I mean, whatever you think about the business, this is their business and it's bringing business here to Orlando because we've got about 70 million visitors that comes through this area yearly. And so we want to have some of that business downtown, not just in Disney Springs, not just in Universal area, but downtown. We want to bring that kind of money here. And so when people are walking around this way and the businesses are like, well, I don't even have security to protect these people, it's a problem. And Buddy Dyer is telling people that, well, you're going to have to get your own security. And they get their security. But again, you can't really do too much. We need the police. We need you. Well,
Yes, we do need the police, and that is a very good point that you bring up, because that's near and dear to me,
mhm.
because we have to protect our communities, and especially our residents and our businesses. They are very important, because even the residents, there are some people that work in downtown, and so they need to be protected as well. And then our businesses need to thrive. And the only way that you can thrive is to make sure you get rid of the threat of violence
Yes.
in that downtown area. Over 58% of the people do not feel safe in downtown Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a bad statistic. I mean, that's something that we have to really put our foot down concerning crime and law and order in downtown Orlando. That's a real plus for me. And you're absolutely right. Though business people hire off-duty police officers, it is the responsibility of the Orlando Police Department to provide that safety and protection for those business people in downtown Orlando and also the residents. You know, there was a doctor from Orlando Health, I believe it was, that was one of the attending physicians with the two police officers that were shot recently in downtown Orlando. And it really weighs on those healthcare providers when they see these things coming in constantly, time and again. They have to deal with that. As a matter of fact, this doctor lived in downtown Orlando. And so when he's off from the job at the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
he hears the noise. He hears the gunshots and the violence that's taking place in downtown Orlando. No one should live under those conditions.
No.
No one whatsoever. And we cannot turn a blind eye to that. We have to step up the enforcement and we have to step up the presence of the police. And we can't, you know, and I was getting ready to say, we can't just rely on the business people to hire off-duty police officers.
Right.
The first priority is for us to protect that downtown. With the business hiring an off-duty police officer, that's a real plus for them. But at the same time, that off-duty police officer needs to know that there's somebody else out there in the street that are working these
Right.
areas to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that the streets are safe.
Mm-hmm.
Because see, they're at a building, they're watching the building, the business,
Mm-hmm.
but the police has to be throughout downtown
Yeah,
Orlando,
patrolling
and
and
the police needs to
right.
go through those businesses, even though they have an off-duty police officer,
Yeah.
to even let the off-duty police officer know we are here for you. Because if that police officer that's in an off-duty capacity makes an arrest, then that person has to go to the jail to
Mm-hmm.
finish up the paperwork.
Mm.
So now the business is without that off-duty officer. So we have to make sure that police are in the area doing the things that they need to do to make sure that businesses, individuals, even the visitors that are coming into downtown Orlando are safe and that they feel safe.
So the point that you just made, it kind of hit me. So we have off-duty police out there being paid by the businesses to be there to patrol their business or to be there for the business. But if we don't have an actual officer, an on-duty officer who's out here patrolling and doing these things, that hire has to go and deal with the paperwork. Now they're leaving their post of protecting the business that hired them to go and do paperwork that the the regular police should be doing. You see what I'm saying? So,
Yeah, absolutely. And seeing what the real issue is, that police officer made the arrest. So he has to follow up with that arrest through the jail facilities and that sort. But at the same time, this is where when that officer is away from that post, the business owner should be feeling very comfortable in knowing that the police officers that are on the street are coming by and watching after them and making sure that they are safer, you know,
right.
than what they would be. And that's an important element in making sure that there's a connection and not a disconnect in that police service.
You know, talking about crime and so on, I saw a video or news clipping yesterday. I'm not sure what city it was in, but they have something where these criminals are if you're coming out of a bank, I think it was really popular back in the 1930s where people were robbing you at banks and so on. And so, or ATM machines. And so they come up, they pay attention, then they watch you and they come up and they take your money from you, gunpoint and so on. I haven't heard that anything like that has been happening here in our area, but I do know that we have a situation with, um, a lot of gun crimes and so on. A lot of killings has happened here. And I remember when we talked before, we talked about Poppy Park, where they had several people shot and killed on Easter Sunday. And so the gun situation is getting out of control. We may not be as bad as other cities, but if we learn and we pay attention to what's happening out there, it's slowly creeping into our house here in Orlando. So I'd like for you to talk a little bit about gun violence and or the criminals with guns, please.
And that's an excellent point, because in Poppy Park, the lady that was shot and killed was just sitting on her front porch. It was an Easter egg hunt that was happening in the park, and two gang rivals decided they wanted to shoot at each other, and she got a stray bullet. The bullet hit her in the head. She fell to the floor, and she died right there. And also on that porch was a little girl that was about 11 years old, and she told her grandfather that she had been shot. And he said, "Where?" So she pulled up the side of her blouse, and there was blood all over the place. And so he told a couple of other family members to get her to the hospital right away. So they didn't even wait for an ambulance to come. And when they did, they got her to the hospital, and actually that helped save her life. And even from that perspective, you know, um, just a couple weeks ago, we had another 6-year-old girl, and this Poppy Park is in Culver community.
Mm-hmm.
And so just a couple weeks ago, we had another little 6-year-old girl that was in her home watching television with her mom, and gun violence, two gangs going at it, bullets flying everywhere. And so one of the bullets made it, or two of the bullets made it into the house where the young lady was, a young girl was, and her mom, and it killed the little girl. The mom was injured. And so police have to be in the community. If you know a community needs extra patrol, that's what you provide. And another thing, too, about the Poppy Park Easter egg hunt was, had the police been patrolling the neighborhood and actually stopped at the Easter egg hunt and got out of their vehicle and began to mingle in the crowd and speak to the people, that's called community-oriented policing.
Okay.
So you don't need anything special about that other than the genuine concern of the police officer for the community and for the neighborhood. One other thing too concerning that is that when the officers got to the scene, when they got to the scene, and the little girl was now dead and gone, they were dealing with other individuals called gangs, the little teenage gangs. They start in elementary school, they build in middle school, and they even get a little bit more rough when they're in high school. But it's mostly, if you're looking at a bell curve, it's mostly those that are in middle school that are the number one violators of violence in our communities, because they are territorial and they don't like for people to say bad things about them, so they get into arguments, and the next thing, it's about a gun and bringing a gun to the scene. And a lot of these individuals are teenagers. They're teenagers. And even even with violence of that nature, because the Easter egg hunt that was held in Poppy Park, according to the police said it was an unsanctioned event. So they didn't have any police in that area. Unsanctioned or not, patrolling the neighborhood is very important to the neighborhood. And
So
we
when
have got to keep the people safe from any violence or anything that can hurt them or any property that they might own.
I,
Because, bullet holes are still in the buildings.
yeah. When you say unsanctioned, I want to understand what that means. Does that mean that this
Well,
was just a no, police weren't
they did,
invited or
they didn't have a permit to
permitted?
actually have a Easter egg hunt in the city park.
Okay.
But regardless of all of that, is what I'm saying is, though it's unsanctioned, though they didn't have a permit, you still on a day like Easter go through, show the kids who you are so that they feel good about you. Show the parents who you are so that they feel good about you, that police officer that's patrolling their neighborhood.
Well, I was really disappointed in that shooting because I did go to Poppy Park, not that day, but after the shootings and everything. And I walked the grounds and I saw the burial, I saw the bears, and they had the tree, with little angels and all of these things. And I thought, my God, on Easter Sunday, it's a holy day, in my view. It's a holy day where peace would be amongst the people, where peace, when we're celebrating the risen King, Easter Sunday. Why are we shooting and killing each other on a holy day such as this? I know I kind of took the conversation in a different place, but that's how I felt about it. When I walked it, and I said, my God, I mean, we're killing each other on Easter, the day that we're supposed to really be all about God and fellowship. But we're out here shooting each other at a Easter egg hunt for little children. It's sad. It's sad. The culture is just it's sad. But you go.
Well, and when we look at Carver Shores, because there have been so many other little incidents, the neighbors want more police to patrol their neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And then, there are issues also in the neighborhood where code enforcement need to be doing their job as well, because again, property values. When somebody else is not taking care of their property, then it hurts the one that is taking care of their property, when we talk about reselling and that sort. But the real issue is making sure that our police are in our neighborhoods, code enforcement are in our neighborhoods and doing those things that need to be done, where they're holding the homeowner or the resident accountable. Because, see, you have some cars that are on jacks or jack stands, a wheel is off. That's no way to conduct business in a neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And they do have a homeowners association, but at the same time, you've got to strengthen those things as well. And I think, with the city trying to help and work with them, because they are a nonprofit group, but you give them some wisdom, insight, and knowledge on how to strengthen their organization so that they can be a better homeowners association. So we have those kinds of things that we need to be doing as well. And though the police are out there, they were able to arrest those individuals that did uh, cause that murder to happen to that young girl that
Well,
was 6 years old. So
well,
they were able to do that, and we are very thankful for that. And I would say to you that a lot of their information that led to those arrests came from people in the neighborhood, because
that's good
somebody
to
knew
know.
somebody and somebody knew somebody. That's how these cases are being built and solved, because You have to have a positive relationship between the community and the police, whether they're residents or whether they're the business community. Positive relationships. It's almost like we know each other by name. That's how
Right.
it needs to be.
Yeah.
And that's how it was when I was on the force. And that's how it was when my father was on the force before I joined the police department. Because we used to get phone calls at the house. Daddy, Miss So and so wants to speak to you. And so Miss So and so or whomever is actually telling him who was responsible for a burglary, a robbery, a murder, a theft, or even any violence. So they were getting that kind of information, and because the people knew them and they had that relationship where they could talk freely to them and also feel that the police wouldn't be, putting their information out there so that they would be in jeopardy, but they were being protected. So we have to have this community oriented policing. We have to have neighborhood patrolling as well. And that is police officers that are dedicated to neighborhoods and actually making sure that they're going through and patrolling those areas and getting to know the residents and also the businesses in those areas.
Well, with a shortage of police, I love the idea